sorry, 720.org.uk. You can also follow her on Instagram and Facebook on Psychological Think Tank 360. So here we have Caroline live. So we're now live. We're also live on Twitter, and we are live now. Hello. Hi there. So we have Caroline here, and so we are live on air, people. And Caroline, could you explain your career? Like, what made you pick being a psychologist, a motivational speaker? You also mentioned something about you had a life-changing experience. Could you tell us more about this?
Yes. So basically, I never just became a psychologist overnight. What happened was I went through college just like everyone else, then went to uni. I was inspired by somebody. Due to the lifestyle that I was living, I was inspired by someone to, just like an angel, to say to me, you can actually go to uni and you can go to college first and do an access course. So my journey was through access course. I went to uni without any GCSEs. I went the route of an access course, but I wanted to do psychology because of the lifestyle that I was living. I was in a gang when I was younger. I lost a lot of my friends to gun and knife crime, and that really empowered me to know what really is going on in people's minds when they do certain things. Due to the fact that I myself, we had to go to court to witness, to give statements, and then friends that were friends, they actually denied each other. In court, when they reach to court, I don't know you, you don't know me, I've never met you like that before, So these kind of things actually made me think, what can make people's human beings' behavior change, and what motivates people to do what they do in order for them to react the way they react. So I took a passion in psychology due to what went on in my life, really. That's why. That's one aspect of it. Then later on in my life, I took basically interest in law. So as a Mackenzie friend at law, I went on to engage and represent people in court, and that's how I became what I am today. Then later on, I decided I need to write a book. I need to write down my life story. So my book is Challenges of Identity, Psychological Perspective, which is this. This is my book. It's both a self-help book and it's a self-help book and also an academic book, because it took me at least 1.5 years to write the book, alongside with all my mentors, which was really good for me because I loved it. It was a wonderful experience. And that's me, but I also do other stuff like I'm an advocate for gun and knife crime. I go to City Hall and represent our communities, the black ethnic communities, in relation to gun and knife crime. I've got an organization called Think Tank 720, and that Think Tank 720 is for ethnic minority business to come together. As you can see, as Empress Tojake has put it on there, is for businesses, ethnic minority, all to come underneath one umbrella, to come together and exhibit whatever they want within their businesses and whatever artistry that they've got going on. So that is my organization called Think Tank 720. I also run a youth forum. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, if you go on my website, you can sort of see certain things that I do. I'm a representative for my kingdom, Buganda Kingdom in the UK, for my king of Uganda. So I also go into royalty, representing people like that. So that's Caroline. Currently, I'm just writing my second book at the moment, and got businesses. We've got a business that deals with, solar power charger, power bank. It's a power bank. It's a solar power bank that we use, that you can use without charging it online. We plan to take it to Africa, and we've also got a clothing line called Pride Wear Clothing, that we also look to launch very soon. So that's really it at the moment. That's at the moment that's what I'm on. There's other businesses that I've got coming up, but I don't wanna.
Yeah, it's not good to count the
eggs
eggs before
before they catch the egg. Yeah, so it's gonna be really surprising, the business that I've got coming up.
But I was just going to say, Caroline, could you explain more about the book and why people should really get this book? If you can see, the book is not too big, so it's very simple to digest and read.
Yes.
And could you explain why it's important that especially, do you think it's ideal for young people? Why they should read this book? Why do you think it's important they read this book?
Do you know what? This is my first baby of writing. Why I think, first of all, you should read the book, because due to my story, I never knew that I could write a book.
Really?
I never knew I could write a book. I was in a gang. Remember, I never even knew that I'd go to university, college, talk less of university.
Could you explain how you joined a gang in the first place?
I was groomed. It was grooming. It was me searching for my identity. The challenges of identity that I was going through. I came in this country when I was 5 years old with my mother. I am now in my nearly late 30s. My birthday next month, literally my birthday month next week. But cut the long story short, I believe that this book is for everybody. And it's not only for young people, it's for the adults as well, because it's both a self-help book and academic book. Identity everybody is in search of identity, don't matter what age you are. And so the reason why I believe people should read this book, it is because that I can see a lot of people are in search for their identity. It doesn't matter white or black, this book does not have a colour. Hence why I never put people on it. Have you realised? I put a DNA picture in it. DNA. Because DNA is what's important, who you are. It's not a colour thing. A lot of things had been mixed up. I myself am learning. I got in the process of writing this book, I learned that it wasn't nothing to do with colour. It's all to do with your DNA and what you put out in the universe. So once I learned the psychological game that they are putting in this universe, then once you get to know yourself or thyself, you get to realize that actually man is in control of their own destiny. Whatever else comes with it is labelism. And so everybody should read this book simply because I went into the depths of different chapters. If I went into social identity, I went to identity by defining it. You've got your relationship identities, right? Then you've got your self-identity. Then you've got your cultural identity. Then you've got your national culture. Then you've got like your organizational identity. Then you've got your ethnic identity. And
so
the
identity
list
comes in different platforms.
Different forms in life, different forms. Yeah, it comes in different forms, and it's so because if you're not able to differentiate those different forms, therefore, according to the environment, the different social environments that you're in, it becomes a problem and a factor. The most important identity is the self-identity, but the self is fluid.
Okay.
It has a fluid identity because it changes according to different environment. But then there's certain aspects of the self that are identities, like such as culture and ethnic identity, that does not change. But would that identity dictate who you are? That's the question. So I looked around, I started searching for myself even when I was younger. I said, let me say hi. Hi, Pamela. Hi, Prince. I got people locked in on my Facebook. So I looked around to myself when I went to write this book, Challenges of Identity. I had to travel to different European countries. I knew what Africa looked like because I'm an African. Then I went to Europe. Then I got to find out that, you know what? A lot of people are lost.
Generally, all over the world.
All over the world.
All over the world, yeah. Okay.
A lot of people are lost. So I looked at myself because I was in search of my identity because I was hanging around with different cultures, you know, and what my mum instilled in me, my cultural identity, the cultural principles of kneeling down whilst greeting your elders, stayed in me. And I think that's a Bantu habit, African all over, if I believe. And I realize there's cultural principles all over Africa that we have universally as African people that are similar. And I say, some African parents, they're teaching their children this. Some of them retain it, some of them don't. I was very happy that my mum taught me my language because I speak it now. I speak 3 languages, 4 including English. So I retain those I would say values that she taught me, and they helped me a lot even when I was away from her, and even right now as an elder young adult, I call myself. These things help. So identifying who you are is most practical. This is what dictates how you can react within your social environment and your societies and so forth. Yes. So whilst I was younger, the reason why a lot of youths join gangs, sometimes they're in search of self. Because as we grow, the developmental process, psychologists, they say that when you're developing, there's different developmental processes that a human brain takes in process, right? There's a man called John Watson. He says, bring me an infant and give me him, and I'll put them in any environment that I need to be in, and I'll create you a beggar man, a lawyer, a banker, or a homeless person.
All in the same environment.
All in the same environment.
And how does this person do it? Is it through teaching each person different
through
stuff?
Teaching, it's grooming. Whilst you're younger, the traits, what you're groomed in that environment, right, is what you may take out.
Wow.
So your environment
This is psychological.
This was a psychological experiment that was taking place, and to the most part, some of it is true, because your environment does dictate to a certain extent who you are, what you are about, how you know. Some people may not. The environment may not dictate it, because I've seen it myself. Because remember, this is only theory. I've seen it myself where prison studies are done, where prisoners have been put in an environment, but they don't let that environment dictate their minds. I've seen where prisoners are more freer in prison, and more free than the people that are not in prison, in the mentality. So it's all like a big debate, nature versus nurture.
I think it's true what you're saying. Everything's because even like sometimes some people grow up in an environment which is seen as very violent, but their behaviour is totally different. And like you said, it's the two, nature and nurture.
Nature and nurture.
But so far, it's like So have you got any events coming up at the moment? Like events you would like to share with us?
Oh yeah. First of all, let me acknowledge this. I went to an event because I'm obviously, I'm a speaker, motivational speaker. So I went to an event. I was booked to speak at an event, a woman empowerment event last week, right? And then last week, the woman empowerment. I thought someone was coming in. Last week, the woman empowerment. I was honored in a magazine called The Anchor. This is the magazine, The Anchor.
Yeah.
It's called The Made Woman. They're having a woman conference every year, and they're calling it The Made Woman, right? So they've honored me in this magazine. But you know why I want to speak about them? Okay. This lady, because every speaker, right? Because they say, oh, females event are full of that bitchiness, whatever. It was full of love. Every speaker was paid. A bit after even the payment, we was given presents, okay? And in the present, there was still money, even in a card. I open up a card and there's money in it as well. And so
I think that's taking things to the next level. That's what we need to do in the community.
That's what we need to do in our community. And I mean, the integrity of how they carried on the event was so awesome, because, everybody was, all the speakers that were there was a speaker, an international speaker called Clement. He's a businessman. He came from Nigeria. And as he was speaking about wealth, how we need to do, black people, we need to keep the money within ourselves, learn financial IQ. I'll be writing a book with him soon, by the way, because he's written some books. Yes, we are working together as Bantu people, black people. So as he was speaking, it's like the whole room was shut, like quiet. The women in the room, they were willing to do business, but I found out they didn't know how. So I give it up to the uncle and the maid woman for starting something like this, the maid woman conference, because there you meet other people that want to develop. And then women were coming up to me, oh, your message really touched me. How can I get mentoring? How can I develop my business? And I met some good women out there that are really seeking to be self-employed, because no one wants to be someone that is employed anymore, because people want to be out there, explore their God-given talents, you see, and the universe will call you. But some women live in fear. A lot of people, not only women, a lot of people, the events that I speak at, I find that both within the ethnic minorities, there's some people are fearful to stand alone.
What I've noticed, I think it's a generational thing. I think in the last 30 years or 40 years, they didn't really make much effort to...
Sorry about that, yeah.
They didn't make much effort to make us very self-sufficient. And if you look at what family members say and people around us, they always giving this, you can't do things yourself. But the thing is that there needs to be, like, with your self-organising events, and me and you, like myself doing radio show, we need to try and encourage more people.
Working together is imperative. It is very imperative to work together, in that when you work together, what happens is you become powerful beyond measure. And they can see that you become powerful beyond measure. Do you know what happens? What happens is, because the Indians and the Asians do it, what happens is then the fear diminishes.
But you know what makes us different from them is because we don't marry relatives, and also we don't practice
absolutely no.
So we're doing things much properly.
Yeah.
The only thing is that's the mindset. The mindset will eventually have to change, because I think the elders will still realise, especially the elders in the Western world, will still realise their children really are the only people going to support them, because the state will really not support them. And if your children are not financially secure, then there's no point pushing in a negative mindset, because they can't even look after you during old age. You think about it, because the money the government's giving, I don't think they're going to give much longer. The whole pension thing, that's the aim, to try and get people to do pension. They're trying to make people work longer. The government in the UK basically trying to change a lot of stuff. I'm thinking they're even trying to remove that the extra money the government
pension credit.
And they're trying to move stuff like they're trying to encourage less people to be unemployed, like that sort of thing. They only want to give a certain money to maybe people who are parents with dependent children, or someone who's mentally got ill, or give it to those who are elderly. But they don't want to. They want to try and remove it, because if you keep giving millions of people that sort of money, that could bankrupt
first of all, do you know the meaning of welfare? Why it started?
I don't really know much about it.
Yeah, welfare. It's a human right duty. It's international. That's why the World Bank, every country
has welfare
money. Africa has the welfare money, right? But they give little. They give it to refugees, and some of it goes in their pockets. Every country internationally
has welfare money.
Has a welfare budget. The World Bank distributes that, and it's mandatory. So in order for that to diminish or to be omitted out in certain aspects or areas of certain people's lives, it has to go to the court of law, international court of law. They have to decide that. You understand me? So otherwise there will be vulnerability There'll be chaos in the system.
But,
Hence why they pay taxpayers. You know, the tax that they're taxing you goes towards that. It's a duty, it's a responsibility for the system to look after a welfare of a vulnerable person. Vulnerability varies in different areas of life. I could be financially vulnerable. You understand? Due to certain circumstances.
so what would you say about the American system? Because they don't give...
American system gives welfare stamps. They just don't give you money.
Okay, so...
They give you a stamp. They don't give you money. They're clever.
Okay.
That's why they don't stay on there for so long on it. Because
So what thing you
they don't deal with money.
But you said these things are right for every human, but how come in Africa this doesn't happen? They don't really...
In Africa, it's a corrupt system. They have the money.
But Europe and the rest of the world have not challenged Africa about this at all.
Is it their responsibility?
No, it isn't.
We need to stop giving European people a responsibility that we, as African people, we're supposed to take. Because what happens, we've given them responsibility for a long time. For them to be responsible for us. Do you understand? But what what they have, what the international right, they give you a right which you shouldn't even have a right, because rights are natural. You understand? So what they've given is that every human being must have this welfare, blah blah blah, which is good. But in Africa, it's a different system. They still get aid as well. So we really need to look at ourselves. This is what I said about identity. We need to identify who you are as African people. And I believe we know who we are slowly but surely. Now we're getting to know who we are. But it's just that to make ourselves to sit on a decision-making table. Once you sit on the decision-making table, you understand? Once you sit on the decision-making table, then you have the tools to run your system.
Okay, so wow.
Oh, Stephen Bailey said, oh, so inspiring. Oh, thank you, Stephen Bailey. Thanks for tuning in. Please share and like. Yeah.
Wow, so that was what you've been saying has been very empowering. So how would we get a lot of the stuff you're saying?
Yeah.
Even me myself, I'm like, oh, I don't know this. How would we be able to hear more of this? We have to contact you directly? Do you offer consultation? Are you going to be doing a seminar on this topic?
Yeah.
Would you be doing a tour about your book also?
Yeah.
So
I will be doing seminars. I will be doing basically right now. You can contact me for consultation, any psychological consultation, psychological think tank 360 at gmail.com, or go on my website thinktank720.org.uk, or you can Facebook me on Caroline Namagabi on Facebook, or Psychological Think Tank 360 on Facebook. To get any form of consultation that you need to get, you can inbox me, get me through all those contacts and email. You can find me on Instagram as well. I'm on my second book now. My first book, as I said, is Challenges of Identity, a Psychological Perspective. And that's written by myself. You can get it on Amazon, eBay, any outlets there. I will be doing a book release party in November. So that's coming up soon. I'm in talks. I'm hoping one of my mentors, Dr. Uma Johnson, will be at the event. I'm in talks because he will be here. He will be here in November. They're doing a show. I'm also now writing my second book. You could call this one a second edition. It's about identity. All right, but it's more on the social media aspect. I tell you. Once you get to social media and what they've done with the system, the digital system, I'm learning a lot, because my research shows, I've done experiments myself that have proven that social media is it's good and there's bad with it. Digital identity, I should say, digitally. This is the new world that we're going to be living in.
The digital world, yeah.
The digital world. So I've done my experiments whilst writing my book, the second book now, my chapter on social media. I put up certain pictures online, and I got the reaction that I thought I'll get. it can be so, people, once they see certain things, it's assumed, and we need to stop assuming. It's easy to get your identity offline, and it's easy to be a fake self online.
Yeah. But also you have to remember, our brain is very tricky. The trickiest thing, our brain.
Yeah.
There is proven fact that the brain has an illusion side also. So sometimes your brain can actually trick you to believe in something. That's why people don't understand the law of attraction.
The law of attraction.
If you think something, you say this is going to happen, you already have in your brain.
Yeah.
What you think your brain can literally manifest and actually happen. So the brain does have an illusion side, and I think that's what social media does.
Right.
Social media taps into the illusion side of our brain, where sometimes, let's say example, you thought that happened, you told yourself that, but it never really happened. But your brain has told you that this happened.
So would you say that it's an assumption? It's something that is made believe?
It's made believe, but some people know how to master it. They're like, no, those who are the elite, and those who have reached their higher self, and those who are financially independent, they know how to tap into that. The general public doesn't know how to tap into that, and they've not told them what to do. So instead of telling them what to do, they've used television, programs, all this stuff to block them from tapping into a part of your brain which can literally unlock you to reach your higher self, to be like, some people, they easily money just comes.
So let me ask you, what's your higher self?
I'm still on the go to my higher self.
Okay.
I've not reached it at all.
As someone who's written about identity, in my book I've got a chapter called self-identity. Okay. Whilst you're on earth here, this dunya, your higher self, you can reach it, but there's no such thing as self-actualization. Because hence why I said a person, a human being, as you're still subjected under human era, is still someone that is fluid, changeable. It's up and down.
True.
To reach your self-actualization, let me give you a story. Say like, whatever your religious persuasion is, like Jesus Christ, even he reached a point where he said, God, take this cup away from me. Because he came to find, for himself, that there's certain things that he couldn't handle. When you're in the human body, you have to have a lot of fasting, a lot of meditation, shut yourself away from the world to reach your higher level, to tap into things like colors. There's
two things of you. There's your flesh self and there's your inner self.
Yeah,
the inner self is totally different from the flesh self.
Yeah.
So there's two sides to humans. So
there's two sides. That's right. So the self-actualization thing is like, I listen to a lot of meditation gurus, and what they do, you have to sacrifice a lot to reach yourself, your higher self. But there's certain levels of higher self. I believe I've reached a certain level of my higher self to a certain extent. Like, for example, I look at my life now before, because it goes in stages, isn't it, as yourself. Where I looked at myself, where I used to be in a gang, where I've come from that, and then gone educated myself. Where I've come from that, I'm now influencing and inspiring people internationally. I've now come into stages talking to people. I'm now talking to Mayor, like I was talking to Sadiq Khan. I look at myself and say, wow, I've reached, not that don't mean I've reached my good self, my certain level of good self.
So things changes as time goes by.
No, time doesn't mean that things will change.
Yeah, you have to change.
You have to
change it.
You have to have responsibility, accountability, and understanding of who you are. Remember, not understanding to understand you're going underneath something to keep you under. Now, when you overstand, obviously for those who are listening to us that don't know overstanding, when you overstand, you know, but when you overstand something, you're over the subliminal messages, the labelism that they're trying to give you. So I began to overstand myself, and like I used to, like, say there was an incident 3 weeks ago that happened to me. I was invited somewhere, and it's like my older self, where I was bad, I was in a gang, always tried to follow me to try to get me back there, temptations around. So I was in this environment, and this girl walked up to me and said something to me that would have got me back to the frame of mind, the old Caroline, that would be like, who do you think you are, blah, 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 you know, ready to fight you and knock you down. But I said to myself, you have to talk to yourself. Caroline, you've got responsibility. There's people that you are inspiring. Walk away from this situation. Do you understand me?
True.
So it becomes, to reach your higher self, it becomes bigger than you. Now, you're not yourself. You're inspiring other people. You're putting something back to the universe. Now you're holding, that's where you called leadership with accountability. So now, whatever you do, you have the responsibility of yourself to look out for the message you're giving into the universe.
It's also self-love, and it does show.
And self-love, yes.
It shows out sometimes in your exterior.
self-love.
So so Caroline, oh my gosh, the interview's almost done.
I know, it's gone so quickly, and we even finished a lot of stuff.
I know, but the thing is,
wow.
So we just need to know, how can we reach you again?
So basically, you can reach me on psychologicalthinktank360@gmail.com, or you can go on my Facebook, Caroline Namugabi, or you can go on my organization, thinktank720.org website, and so forth. Yes, all the information, as you can see, Empress Tojake has put it there. So that's my information there. And my next event, I've got an event coming up, which is my book release party. I'm gonna be on TED Talk in December.
Oh my God.
Yes, I cannot wait for that. So I'll be on TED Talk in December, and they haven't given me a date yet, so I'm waiting. I'm so excited. When I submitted my material, I was like, wow. And so I'm also gonna be at uni, my old uni, going to talk at my old uni, doing some talks there at my old school. Going back there and doing some talk there, lecturing on my book, things like that. So and I'll be going to Africa soon as well, taking my books there as well. Other than that, it's just work, my dear.
Okay, wow. So you can see here a live interview with Caroline, and this is now going to be circulated. So
fantastic.
People tune in. So
tune in.
Facebook, what is your Facebook address again?
Facebook, Caroline Namugabi. Caroline, my surname, which is Namugabi. Then Facebook for my psychological think tank, 360, for all my psychological stuff, if you want to catch me on there.
Okay, so we are done with the broadcasting, and we will be